Samsung Galaxy J7 Prime versus Samsung Galaxy S5 coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? This is Nick here from Everything Tech, help you to master your technology, and welcome to the Samsung Galaxy J7 Prime versus the Samsung Galaxy S5. Now, right before we begin this comparison, I just want to mention the reason why I'm doing it. The Galaxy J7 Prime is around the same price point as a Samsung Galaxy S5, making this comparison rather useful, I think, for those of you who are looking for maybe a $200 to $250 smartphone. The S6 can also be had. I would recommend the S6 over the S5 at this price point, but this is why we are doing this comparison. Now, the S5 does give you an AMOLED display, whereas you get a TFT. But let's go ahead and boot these guys up at the same time in 3, 2, and 1. So I think that the Galaxy S5 will probably lose in this test just because the Samsung Galaxy J7 Prime does have an octa-core CPU with 3 GBs of RAM. But on the Samsung Galaxy S5, you do get that AMOLED Full HD display. So it's pretty apparent when you boot these guys up. You can see the deep blacks on, you can't see the deep blacks on the TFT panel. I'm just kind of associating Samsung with AMOLED displays. So when I see a Samsung without an AMOLED display, it just doesn't look right in my eyes. But that's just my experience. You might differ. You can see the detail in the lizard picture when I first boot this guy up here. Now, with the Samsung Galaxy S5, you do get a Snapdragon 800 series CPU with 2 GB of RAM, whereas you get an Exynos, I think it's a 7820 on the J7 Prime, but I'm going to try to locate CPU-Z. I don't see it here on my S5. Let me see if I can find it here on the J7 Prime. Let me search for the CPU-Z up here. I am going to confirm these specifications. Oh, there it is. So CPU-Z, you can see Samsung Exynos 7870, 1.59 gigahertz clock speed. You got like a 2.3 gigahertz clock speed on the S5, but a lower clock speed means better battery life, which the J7 Prime will give you. It'll give you better battery life. So let's go ahead and close everything out here and let's begin this application test. But before I begin the application test, I do want to make sure the Wi-Fi's are exactly the same, because if they're not, that could tweak the test a little bit here. So you do get AC Wi-Fi on the Samsung Galaxy S5, and you don't get AC Wi-Fi on the Galaxy J7. So if you're looking for a faster Wi-Fi device, the Galaxy S5 should give you faster Wi-Fi in terms of the level of Wi-Fi you can get, because you can get AC. You only get B, G, and N there on the J7 Prime, which is kind of a bummer, but hey. So let me go ahead and connect that one on the S5. Let's go over here on the Galaxy J7. Let's go to Wi-Fi here, and let's connect it to the same exact network. Now you can see they're both on the same network here. So let me go ahead and close everything out and begin this app test. So let's go to phone first. And you can see it looked like the J7 Prime, but I actually forgot one thing. Let me go back into settings and get the cache cleared on both of these devices. It would make this test probably a little bit more fair. So scrolling down on the J7 Prime, let me go into storage if I could find it. There is a lot of settings. It gets a little bit confusing here on these Sammy boys. How do you feel about all the settings, guys, on the Galaxy S5, the Galaxy S7? Do you like these settings? Do you think the Samsung has too many settings? How do you feel about that? Comment down below. Let's go ahead and clear the cache here for the J7. Going down on the S5, let me go ahead and clear the cache here for the Galaxy S5. And you can see both are cleared now. So let's go back into our application test. You can see calculator there on the J7. Let's go into clock here. It looks like the J7 is going to take that one as well. Hopping back out, let's go into voice recorder. Give it to the S5 there, maybe. Let me know if I miss any of these settings going to the S5 down below in the comments. It would help us all out. Play newsstand here. Looks like the J7 Prime well ahead of the Galaxy S5 in this test. So scrolling through, scrolling is both fast on both, not buttery smooth, but fast. Going into YouTube, you can see that we do have the application opening first there for the Samsung Galaxy J7 Prime. The S5 lagging behind just a bit here on the YouTubes, so still lagging behind. We're just gonna hop out of here and give that one to the J7 Prime. Let's go into the internet browser here and open up a couple of websites and see how they do here in terms of the internet exploring. So let's go into the J7 Prime. Let's head over to apple.com. On the S5, let's head over to apple.com as well. And let's fire them both up at the same time to see which one gets there first. looks like the J7 Prime is going to win that one to Apple.com. So you can see, even though it has a lower clock speed, it does have more RAM and a more efficient processor in the Exynos chipset versus a Snapdragon chipset here on the S5. So I think the J7 is a slightly better all-around performer than the Galaxy S5 in this, according to this test here. So going into camera, you can see that the J7 Prime took that one as well. Coming out of there, let's go into the next application, and you can see that the camera does open from the bottom of the J7 a little bit better than just tapping the camera icon. You could actually miss a shot because you have to find the camera icon sometimes on your S5. So I think that that double click to open the home button is better here. And I did take a couple of pictures, and on the J7 Prime, you're gonna get a more realistic color, but on the S5, you're gonna get a very saturated, punchy, deep, and rich picture. So I do think that the picture quality you're gonna get on a Samsung Galaxy S5 is a little bit better, and the gallery is actually lagging quite a bit there. So let's hop out of there and go back in, and you can see this Adidas cologne bottle here, Deep Energy. But if we go inside, you can see that the S5 just gives you a slightly more saturated, not actually quite a bit more saturated colors. You can see deeper blacks, just a little bit deeper on the whites there as well. The orange, very orange there for the S5, whereas it's a little bit more bland, a little bit more clear, and I would say just a little bit more natural on the J7 Prime, but it really depends on what do you prefer. Do you prefer a cleaner, natural look, or do you prefer oversaturated, very colorful, rich colors that you're gonna find on the S5? So let's go into my stories right here. You can see Instagram loads pretty well on both devices, so no problem there for either. Let's go into Play Newsstand, and let's see which one wins this one. So we're still waiting on the S5 here, and the J7 Prime is actually not logged in, but it would have opened it first. Let's just hit no thanks and skip this, and you can see even after skipping everything, it still beat the S5 here to Play Newsstand. So the J7 Prime is getting the win there. Let's go into the calendar here on both devices. You see the J7 Prime is going to take that one as well. Heading over into the Play Store on this next application here. So also I do want to mention that you do get the newer TouchWiz look here for the Samsung Galaxy J7 Prime. You've seen with the white top, whereas you get that orange top, or that orange top, that blue top on the top of the notification tray for the S5. So the S5 does open the Play Store just a little bit slower than it did on the Galaxy J7 Prime. Let's go into S Health here to wrap up this first round of the speed test between these two. And you can see if I hit start right here, I didn't actually have that loaded, so that one's kind of not fair. But let's go ahead and just run a multitask. We're gonna go back through them. You can see the J7 Prime has the calculator open first. Let's come home, let's go on the clock. You can see the J7 Prime had that open first as well. Going into the voice recorder, the J7 Prime again. Settings is gonna go to the S5 for some reason. Let's go into the Play Newsstand, and it does win there first on the Galaxy J7 Prime. And if we go into the YouTube application, J7 Prime wins that one as well. Going into Safari, not Safari, the internet browser, you can see that the J7 Prime does win that one. Going into camera right here, it does look like the J7 Prime won that as well. Let's go into Instagram. I'm gonna give that one to the S5. Let's go into Play Newsstand. And I will give that one to the S5. Let's go into calendar. I'm gonna give that one to the J7. And coming out of there, let's go into Play Newsstand, Play Store. And you can see that the J7 won that one. Let's go into S Health. J7 had that loaded up first, but that one didn't really count because I didn't have my user information logged in. But in terms of multitasking, about the same here in terms of that regard. But really, it doesn't only come down to speed when you're deciding between a Galaxy J7 or a Galaxy S5. There's more features that matter, such as the cameras on the front. The camera on the front of the S5 is not as good as the one on the rear as the S5, but you also get those lit up home buttons on the S5 where you don't get those on the J7 Prime. You get painted on buttons there. Also, the fingerprint scanner is worse on the S5 than on the Galaxy J7 Prime, which is closer to the device that you can get now, like the S7 Edge. It's just a better home button there, but you do have painted on buttons for the J7 Prime. Now, in terms of the cameras, you do get a 16 megapixel on the S5, a 13 megapixel on the J7. You lose the heart rate rate monitor though. So, but you do get dual SIM there for the J7 Prime, so you can put 2 SIM cards, and you do get a metal feel on the body. So the body does feel a little bit better there for the Galaxy J7 Prime than what you get on the S5. But the front-facing camera on the J7 Prime is much better. It does come with a flash and an 8 megapixel, and it just really shows better detail in terms of the selfie quality. But like I say, that's pretty much it here. Is the J7 Prime the better device? Well, here's how I would assess this. If you have an S5 already, don't go ahead and buy a J7 Prime. I would recommend you guys just go to a S6, or you go to like an S6 Edge or a Note 5 or something. If you're in a budget category and you're looking for something used, maybe refurb, I would actually just say, if you were gonna pick one of these two, go with the J7 Prime, as in if you were buying one and you don't have one already. But if you already have an S5, don't go ahead and upgrade to this. I don't think it would be worth it. I think you lose a few features here. But that's just my take on it. What do you guys think about this? Which one is better, the S5, the J7 Prime? Comment that down below. This was Nick here, helping you to master your technology. I will catch you guys all in the next one. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Be sure to be well, and peace.